I'm off to this side again. Jeez, I feel so far over. Did you move the camera? Is it different?
I think the camera's pointed this way by mistake. A little bit. But that's where it's been, so if we're going to edit footage, I have to keep it.
That's fine. Howdy there. My name's Christopher. This is my good buddy Zach. We're on the internet building a Tesla-powered Vanagon, affectionately named the Teslagon. We're back in the shop again on a Friday, without rain today, which is pretty great.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And we're going to be working back again on the wiring harness. Last episode we showed you everything there is to know about CAN bus protocol, and there's more to know.
There's always more to know.
There's more to know.
But you get it.
Last episode we gave you a really high-level overview of the CAN bus protocol and how we're going to implement it in our van. In this episode, hopefully we can touch on wire sizing and fusing, so that'll be interesting. I know Zach's got some miscellaneous tasks that are going to be done.
Yeah, we've got a punch list tallied up somewhere around here, and I'll be taking care of some of that. Maybe take out the electronics tray in the back, prep it for paint, put a primer coat on it. Got to take the dash out because we've got to put more stuff back there. Probably take out the big heating and AC air duct box back there because we don't think we're going to be using it in the future, and we could use that space for stuff. And then some other little things. You'll see it. Grounding straps. Still got to put grounds on some stuff. So.
Well, while Zach's doing that, I'm going to be working with some wiring, heads down, probably all day, probably all of next day. But I got a rainbow assortment of wires and a variety of sizes. Right? Look at that, a wire gauge and everything. So we're going to be taking all those things and mushing them together and making ourselves a wiring harness.
My dad used to say about plumbing, we're taking a bunch of long straight pipes and making even longer crooked pipes.
Nice, I like that.
Taking a bunch of long coiled wire and, well, that's really long, so in this case making shorter, crooked, branchy wires.
It really rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, there's an analogy in there somewhere, I'll find it.
Well, if any of that stuff excites you in the tiniest little bit, you know, go ahead and stick around for a little bit. If not, then thanks for at least sitting through the intro, I guess.
And if it really tickles your fancy, hit the like button. Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're feeling it, just right down there at the bottom.
Somewhere. I don't know. So. Okay.
All right, stick around. So I'm gonna get busy over on the wiring harness area, I think. And if you will assist me with cinematography, Zach, I think that would be super great.
That didn't happen right.
Don't push it.
Cinematographic. My cinematographic expertise is required.
Cinematographic crunch.
Is cinematographic a word?
I don't know, but we're out of batteries. Like hardcore, look at that.
Cinematographic. It sounds like a semi-sweet, not too sweet, like cracker. Almost like a graham cracker for cinnamon. Cinematographic.
Cinematographic crunch.
No, cinema. We're gonna go film some stuff. If Captain Crunch was a real captain, would I go on his boat?
Heck yeah, man. I mean, he's got like creepy child predator vibes, but you know, for sure, he's got a boat.
I don't know, man.
No, he's actually not a captain. If you look at the stripes on his arms and look at Navy uniform stuff, he's not a captain.
Okay, you guys have seen this shot before. It's very tight here. That makes filming problematic sometimes. So I did something. Come, I'll show. What is that little object? Aha! That is a GoPro mount. A nice downward shot of the wiring bench. Got the electronics tray out of the van. There's the tray. Here's the frame. Just need to clean it all up and get it prepped, and then put a coat of primer on it. That's the ticket. Alright, everything was degreased, wire wheeled, a little bit of Scotch-Brite on some places, get all the rust off, get all the grease off. Now, we'll get a little acetone, make sure we got all the final grease off, dirt, put a shot coat of primer on it. Tell me a little bit about where you're at.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think I have the first pass of wiring done. Everything should be going where it needs to go. And now what I'm doing is I'm pinning up the connectors on the front half of the van. And I'm thinking that maybe we can like snake the back half of the van to the back half. Pin up everything there and give it like a test run. So that might be nice. But right now I'm working on my first set of the pins for the head unit, and then I'm just gonna go one at a time all the way down and hopefully don't make any mistakes. Well, everybody, I've been doing some work. While Zach was working on miscellaneous projects, I've been pinning out these connectors. I got a big one there. We got a little one there. We got an OBD2 there. We got a sensor there. We got throttle over here. And we have a brake switch. I've done enough today to know that it's time to stop. I'm starting to get frustrated with these little tiny wires, so I'm going to take a break. And let's talk about fuses. I think that'll be fun. It's a good time to talk about fuses because I'm taking a break from that wiring over there. And you gotta take a break when your head starts to kind of go mush, or else you're gonna make mistakes, and that's never good. You might actually end up using a fuse in your system. But first, let's talk about what a fuse is and isn't, you know, for the people out there that maybe not know exactly what it's designed for. If you're just casually coming across a fuse, you might think, oh, that's there to protect my Sony head unit. You know, I spent a lot of money on that. We're going to put a fuse in line, and if something goes south, it'll protect it. Well, that's not really what a fuse is designed for. When electricity hits hard, it's going to break something, and it's probably going to be your Sony head unit. The fuse is there to protect your conductor wire in this scenario. The electricity goes haywire. It, you know, forms a circuit where it isn't supposed to have one, and it'll heat up the wires to the point where it fails. It'll light on fire and your car will burn down. That's never good. So what we do is we put a fuse in line of the wire so that after the electricity goes haywire, after your Sony head unit turns into a puff of white smoke, the electrical connection that shouldn't have happened, it doesn't also burn down your car. So in order to protect everything in your car, what we need to do is go through the exercise of figuring out what the proper size wire is for your components and the proper size fuse is for your component. If there's a mismatch in either one of those, you'll either be blowing fuses all the time or never blow fuses and run the risk of burning your car down. If you know how big the wires coming out of your component are, then what you can do is you can just take a measurement of this wire, pull out a fuse size, and stick it in the system. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Like, that's a perfectly valid way to do it. Because at the end of the day, you're protecting your conductors. You're not protecting your components. If you're not blessed with this information, and you have to provide the connections yourself, and you're kind of swimming out in the deep end and you don't really know what you're doing, you go on the internet and you find a chart. There's lots of resources on the internet, and we found one from osnium.com. I think what they do is they make off-road lights and stuff like that. What you want to do is you want to determine the total amperage requirements of your circuit, and you want to multiply that by a factor. What we're using, and I think a general rule of thumb, is anywhere between like 1.2 and 1.5 times the amperage requirements in your circuit. So let's say you total up your device and it's going to draw 10 amps just straight up. Well, you're going to just bump that up to 15 amps. Call it a day. All right, let's talk about fuse element speed, or more accurately, how fast does the fuse go poof. I want to say that modern fuses, there's fast and then there's slow fuses, and I think those are pretty general two categories. But way back when we had more need for different various types of fuses, there was a wider chart. It goes all the way from FF, which is super fast blowing fuses, to F, which is fast blowing fuses, M, medium blowing fuses, T, slow acting, and TT, super slow acting. These directly correspond to German words. You can look them up if you want. I'm not going to try and pronounce them. But they do have different fuse ratings and fuse speeds that you can get. And the reason this is a thing is because certain devices have a high peak starting requirement, and then over time it levels off and slows down. In this situation, you'll want a slow blowing fuse that will allow you to get that initial surge out the door and then level on out to something more sustainable. If your device doesn't have this initial surge, maybe a faster acting fuse is more appropriate. In this case, they blow basically right away as soon as they hit that peak. Just know that there are different fuses, there are different ratings, and if something's blowing and it really shouldn't be blowing, it might be because your rating's wrong. Maybe you have a fast fuse when you need a slow fuse. So there are those things that you need to take into account. Well, I'm really hoping that last little bit edited together properly and came up with something coherent that you can take and impress your significant other with your knowledge of fuses. If not, go ahead and leave a complaint down below in the comments. I'll be sure to respond to it with appropriately worded handwritten letter to you personally, and an apology. So. Work for today, Zach.
Work for today.
Work for today.
Today, I'm going to weld up some battery box. I think I can finish welding the battery box today. So a little bit left to do on the lid to get one seam finished up, and then flip the frame over and get the bottom put on the frame. And that should about do it. Maybe there's a couple little spots that need some tidying, but other than that, that should finish the battery box. So, if I get trucking, I should be able to get that done. You?
I'm gonna do wiring. I'm back on the wire harness. We're riding that train right till the end of the line, and then it's gonna be good.
Some really exciting stuff. Stick around for that.
All right.
Welding montage now.
All right, I'm over here at the wiring table. It's chaos over here. We are layers deep. I had to create a table in order to, have room for some more stuff and it's kind of floating above the surface. But what I'm going to be focusing on for the next few bits is the fuse block that we have. We have here a fuse block provided to us by Chief Enterprises. They were very kind to send us a fuse block as a product sample and some accessories. So we're going to be using that on the Vanagon. But the reason why I have this specifically, our fuses and the other combinations of parts that we're going to use, is because these are all 280 style fuses, relays, plugs, and diodes. And these are basically like plug and play Lego style. You just stick them where you want them and you're good to go. Other products on the market are very opinionated as where the fuses and relays go. This allows you to customize the setup. But what we're doing is we're over here at this area messing with the wiring, and I have a big old mung. I need to go get this other thing. A big old rat's nest of wiring that terminates in this general area right here, and that will actually go to our fuse relay plug. And like everybody says on the internet, it's really simple once you start to get looking into it. Well, truth is it's not. It's complicated, it's hard stuff, it's confusing. So the secret is to come up with a diagram, a list of where things go, what things go to. Yeah, there you go, that's a great shot. It's a good idea to have highlighters. It's a good idea to have things to mock up with and to play with. And it's a good idea to really take your time at the planning step to make sure you don't screw anything up long term. And I have some drawings here to help me. I have a back side, I have a front side. I have different relay pinout diagrams, and I have all the wires color-coded to what they do. So we're gonna keep working on this general thing. It's gonna be super fun, and I'm gonna go to time lapse. So here we go, guys. Oh my gosh, that looks good. Alright everybody, I am back. I guess this episode's going to be edited a little weird. It absolutely is. Some things happened before the break, this is happening after our break. Zach's still out. I know he worked last week, but I've had some time to work on the wiring harness. Oh my gosh, I will tell you, I underestimated this beast. I've been putting in my connections, I've been making crimps, I've been planning all sorts of different things, and I'm almost at the point of taking it and putting it in the van. That's not to say I'm anywhere near close to done. I only have the front half of the harness done, and then the rest has to be fished through the chassis. So that's fun. I thought I'd give you a quick update before I get back to work, before I start wrapping some of these things with some split loom. Not the corrugated stuff. We're not going to use that. We're going to use like a cloth finish. It's going to look pretty nice, I think. I hope. So that's the update. So let's take a look. There you go. Look at all that. Maybe a better angle from here. Yeah, there you go. That's a lot of connections. And that goes to a lot of different plugs. A lot of different things. I got a grommet. That's fun. All of this stuff is still unfinished down here. So we're gonna do that after we get it in the van. Okay, yeah, so that's what I'm working on. I'm gonna finish up this harness on the bench. Last of the little things. I'm gonna shove a tube around it, and I'm gonna shove it through the van, and then I'm gonna jump into the back of the van. I'm gonna finish the back side of the harness there. If this ever needs to be serviced or taken out of the van, it's gonna have to be depinned and snaked through. It's just not gonna be fun. But there's not much we can do about that in the situation that we've designed ourselves. So yeah. As far as the termination grids for the 280 style grid that we have provided by Chief Enterprises, they're great. I mean, I love them. I originally had settled on a 280 style grid for the fuses and the terminations because it matches the 280 style plugs of our MetroPack series, right? That's kind of a goal, you know, less parts, less things to fuss with. And the fact that the physical interface is the same was a plus. But when I got this kit, I noticed it had different terminals. They're not actually made by the same parent company that makes the 280 style, the MetroPack. I think that's Delphi connectors. They're not made by the same company, they're made by a different company, made by TE. It actually has a more robust end termination and an easier two-prong removal system that's just way easier to remove than the 280 style grid. Jeez Louise. I'm just saying a bunch of terms interchangeably. Let's back up. They share a standard specification, which means that the fuses and the terminations fit inside the assembly, but the actual copper crimpy end bit is different itself. And I would actually say I prefer it. It's a more robust assembly with, it's got two retention pins on it, and it's much easier to pin and repin in the event of making a mistake than the actual Delphi MetroPack connectors. Now you can get a 280 style grid with either the TE style connectors, which this has, or the MetroPack style connectors, and then in that case it will be, you know, 100% interoperable with your MetroPack 280 style connectors. A little side rant, but that's what it is. Sorry. Maybe that's useful. It might make the cut, it might not. Alright, one thing we did up here is we've isolated these 4 wires to interface with the harness that we're currently making. Right, we have three lines for signals, for lights, one for like emergency flashers, one for brake pedal initiation, and then one for reverse lights. And then we also have a purple, which is a key power. These 4 will get tied into our harness, and then, you know, we'll have some light signals controlled by our head unit. We're gonna fish that through here, way here in this back hole. Fish everything through there. So that's what we're going to do next, I think. I did this because I was having trouble with the multi-layers and everything being kind of on the same plane as my wiring. I made little trays to get things out of here, so they'll just stay out there elevated. Huh? It's like I'm giving birth to like a beautiful baby child that actually happens to be a 35-foot snake with 1,000 tentacles, centipede, animal hybrid thing. I'm a mad scientist in that scenario. Okay, what this is some wire loom that we have, straight from China, I'm sure. And what is it's an alternative to the corrugated stuff. There you go, scissors are probably a better idea. So the corrugated stuff you can get from AutoZone, you know, and even manufacturers use it, right? This came off of a Tesla here, right here, and it's using the corrugated stuff. But it's noisy, it doesn't flex good, and I don't like it, so we're not going to use this. We got this stuff, which is like with cloth. It's just as good, hopefully. It should withstand all the temperatures, even though this is an EV and we're not expecting high engine temperatures. And then we'll take this guy, and he's gonna wrap. Oh yeah, it's gonna look good, I think. Tape 2, blue tape. Alright, I did it. I got my bundle of wires going through that hole right there. I got all my thingies coming out on this side. Got that. Got that. We got that. And then that comes to here. And we got that. Everybody's really excited here. My neighbor's playing some congratulations music, so this is exciting. I'll keep wiring. I'm gonna set up right here. Up top. We're gonna do some wiring there. And then when everything's done there, we'll take it and shift it down below. Well, we're gonna leave you there with that last update and see you again in 2 weeks' time when Zach returns from his vacation, and we'll get started on the rear half of this wiring harness. So, till then guys, be good people.